Welcome guys, how are you guys? Here we are with another tutorial. This tutorial is going to be based on how to do a trigger, how to create a trigger in Unity. Now real quick, I'm running a little bit late in recording this tutorial. I may not be able to record the entire tutorial today, but I'll get you started, okay? Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come and we're going to open up our hub like we normally do. And you're going to make sure that your hub has the words RD over here. That means it's under my account. Okay, and remember, I'm not going to say the password here. I'll have it on the board so you guys can see it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to projects. We make sure that the RD says on. We're going to create a new project today just to start clean, but you're going to incorporate this into the already game that you're making. Okay. So we're going to go to new project. We click on new project. It opens up this window. And you're going to notice over here you have 2D core, 3D core. We're going to click on 3D core. It's usually default. Then we're going to come over here and call this, give this a name. We're going to call it trigger project. Okay. We're going to call it trigger project. And make sure that your location is correct down here. You're going to click on it and you're going to go to, in my case, I have it on my D drive like you normally would too. But I don't have my name on it and stuff. I just have the actual folder already created. You know, I know it's it's my computer, so it's my folder. Okay, so we're going to come over here and we're going to click on new trigger project, and we're going to go ahead and select this folder. Okay, so now you see I've already created it. It's called trigger project. It's got the right folder. We're going to say now create project. So here we go. Takes a little while for it to create it, so I'm going to go ahead and okay, it already loaded up. I sped it up, of course. It's going to take a little longer for you because it does take maybe a minute or two. We have a new project here, and the first thing we're going to do now is when we're trying to create something like this, we're not going to really create a terrain because it's not really the outdoors that we're creating. We're going to go actually and create like a platform. Okay, we're going to create a platform where everything is going to kind of take place. Okay, in this case, this particular project. So we're going to come over here and we're going to go to 3D object cube, just like you normally would have, and you're going to make that object into a platform. How do you do that? Well, by changing the size over here on the scale tool. You go ahead and stretch it out and you make it into a platform. Okay, as you can see over here, my mouse is not very good as always, but I think it'll be okay for this kind of stuff. Okay, all right, so I got a platform here, not too big, not too small. Maybe if I want to call it, you see these numbers over here? These numbers are the scale of the actual platform. Now you could round that off to 100 and then 100 over here, that 98 into 100. That way it's an even number. So you put 100 and hit enter. So now that you got now a platform that's basically 100 by 100, okay, units, all right? So let's go ahead and begin now. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead after you do this. You're going to go ahead and go into Windows, and you're going to go to the Asset Store right over here, as we've done before many times. Make sure that when you're on the Asset Store, it does say Rudy Diaz over here. Okay, so make sure that it says Rudy Diaz right there. Somebody put a little character there. I don't know. You know, are they saying that that's me? Anyways, just as a reminder, please try not to change any settings and things like that when you're on the Asset Store. Remember, you're under my password. But no big deal. I'll leave it there. Okay, so here we go. The next thing is we're going to click over here and go to My Assets. When you go to My Assets, you're going to the assets that I actually own. And there's two assets that you have to download. The two assets, number one is, again, the mini first-person controller. So you go ahead and type in mini first-person and it should come up at that point already. So there it is, okay? So we're going to come over here. Now remember, when you type in the assets, okay, let me explain this to you because I don't think all of you know. When you're putting in the assets, make sure that you click on here and you're going to My Assets. Now what that's going to do is it's going to open it up here. This is where you have to type it in, actually. This is where you have to do it, not here. Because if you do it there, if it's a purchased asset that has not, that basically, even if I purchased it already, if you type it in there, it's going to tell you that you have to pay for it. Over here are My Assets. So we're going to, again, put first person controller. And it's the mini one. So we're going to put mini first person controller. And we're going to search for it. And there it is. So we're going to say open in Unity. Again, this takes a few minutes to open up. It goes ahead and it opens it up for you. It's fetching the assets. And you're going to come over here and you're going to say, in my case, I'm going to say re-download. Probably it'll say re-download too in yours. Just go ahead and say re-download. And now I'm going to say import. And then I say import again. And you're going to notice that it's going to appear over here on the left-hand side under projects. You're going to see mini first-person controller. There you go. All right, so then once we're done, we just go ahead and close this. We go back to the asset store because now you have to download at the asset store one more thing, which is very important. So you go over here to My Assets. Click on over here where it says search for My Assets, and it's called Playmaker. Play and Maker all together. Okay, and you're going to click on it. You're going to notice that it shows up right down here. It's called Playmaker by Hutong Games. Okay, right there, Playmaker. Make sure you get this one with the Asian type of text that it has here, okay, the icon. Now you say open in Unity, and again you go through the same process. We're going to import. Okay, it says update. I don't know if we want to update that right now. I'm just going to say import, and then I'm going to import again. All right, and it's going to import it for you, and you will see now that it opens up this window, a little different than other windows that you've seen before. I usually go ahead and say install Playmaker on this window, okay? Once I say install Playmaker, I come over here and I install Playmaker again right down here. So it's twice that you have to do that. Then it'll ask you, did you make a copy? I made a copy. Go ahead. It's not a problem. All right. So now it's going to import and prepare the package for you, and now you say import again. Okay, and there it's importing it, and you will know you successfully have imported it when you will see that it'll show up in a certain area that I'm going to show you now. So I'm waiting for it to go ahead and import completely. We'll wait a second or two. Okay, it is finished now. I go ahead and close this window and close this window. Now make sure that your Playmaker is right up here on the menu. Notice where it says Playmaker right over here. And then it'll also say it right over here. That means that you successfully have downloaded Playmaker correctly. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, if you notice over here, Playmaker is right up here. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to say Playmaker Editor. And I'm going to click on that. Now it'll open up this window. You can close that window, okay? And this is the actual window you have to work with over here. This one over here. You grab it over here on this dark bar right up on top. Now you want to go ahead and if you want to move it, you move it this way, or you could just now, if you want to grab it from here and dock it right over here. This is what you want to do. So I'm going to do that again so I can show you. So you've got this window. You can move the window around and leave it open like this. I normally don't like to do that. I normally like to get the actual tab that's over here and dock it right over here next to console. If you notice, you see what I did now? I made another tab. And that's the way I like to do it. Okay, I think it's pretty good. Don't worry about these little errors you have here, because in reality, that's not a problem right now. So what you're going to do now is you're going to create two cubes, okay? And we're going to come over here, and we're going to, first of all, this one over here says cube, so it won't mess us up. We're going to call that, we're going to right click it, rename it, and we're going to call it platform, so that way you don't get confused. So that's your platform, okay? We see it right there. Now we're going to come over here and create a cube, a 3D object right over here, a cube. Since it's white, it's hard to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a name in a second. We're going to go ahead and set it in the correct place. Notice it's right over here. It appears under your platform, and then that's when it appears like almost like a translucent type of cube. But here now you could see, hey, that's the actual cube. All right. So that's one of the cubes that I've created. We're going to change the color of it in a second. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to create another cube. All right. This one, we're going to call it trigger. Okay. We're going to call it trigger. That's what we're going to call that cube, trigger. All right. There we go. Again, we click on it. We move it up here. But this time we're going to make that cube much larger than the one that we had before. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to change the scale of it. So let's go over here. I'm going to make it into a cube. There we go. All right. So I'm making it into like a large cube. If you notice, see what I'm doing? I'm making it into a cube over here. All right. That's pretty good. And now I'm going to move it to basically the center of it right over here. You see that? So now I have a cube that is there. Now that's called a trigger. That's going to be the trigger. That's where the object or the first person controller or your third person is going to walk in there. And when they walk in there, it's going to trigger a certain event or a certain action. Okay, I should say a certain action. So what we're going to do is, in order for the player not to know that that cube is there, because if you add this, let's say, to a scary game, and they see this cube, and they say, I'm not going to go through there, because they know that something is going to happen, you know? So the way you do that is, first of all, you notice that this trigger, okay, we're going to call it a trigger now. It's no longer a cube, it's a trigger. We're going to call that trigger, okay, we're going to click on it over here. And by the way, on the hierarchy, you can click on it. We're going to do a couple of things to it. Number one, we're going to call it isTrigger. Notice over here on the inspector, under isTrigger, there's a little check box that you could check box, and you're going to check it, isTrigger. So it is a trigger, okay? That's so that when somebody walks into it, something happens. Then we're going to come over here, and you're going to notice that that cube has a box collider. Okay, a box collider. That means that if you run into that cube, you can't go through it because it's got a box collider. We don't want a box collider. We don't want any of that. We want to get rid of it. Okay. The other thing is that we want to do to this trigger is we want to go ahead and we want to take out the mesh renderer. Okay, we don't want people to see it. The mesh renderer is what makes it visible to all of us. And when we click on this, if all goes right, it should go transparent. There it is, you see? It's transparent. Now, yes, I know you could see a green line around it, but that's only in this mode. When you actually play the game, you won't be able to see that. You won't see anything. So you're just going to be approaching the center cube that's there. That could be something else. It could be a table. It could be anything you want. It could be a door, whatever you like. And there's something that's going to happen to that cube, the center cube. Okay. The next step you're going to do is you're going to put in a first-person controller, because you need to be able to navigate yourself around this environment. So we're going to go and click on the first-person controller right over here. All right, we're going to open it up. here we go. We click on it. Then we're going to come over here, and you notice that there's two first-person controllers over here. The one I want you to use is this one over here. That one, I believe it's called the first-person controller. It's the second one. It's a prefab. Opposed to this one. This one's called minimal. This one over here, minimal. So this one is basically the full first-person controller. And we're going to bring it right in here, okay? We're going to try to make it a little bit big. Now, remember your scales, okay? Remember that you want to make things that look right, okay? So we're going to go ahead and stretch this out to 2, because remember that 2 units equals 6 feet approximately. Remember that each unit here on the scale is like 3 feet. So that would be about 6 feet. That would be the size of a person. Okay, so we have it there, and we're going to make it right there. So there it is. Now we have our first-person controller, and we have the cube in the middle, and then the trigger. This cube over here, we're going to give it a color. We're going to come over here, and we're going to say create. First of all, we want to go to our main assets over here. Notice over here, I'm keeping everything organized. All right, you just don't want to make a folder where your first-person controller was. You want to organize it in the root folder. The root folder is assets. So we're going to make a folder over here and call it create folder. And we're going to call it materials like we did before. Materials. Once you create materials, go ahead and hit enter. That gives you a folder with materials. Again, if it's empty like this, hollow, it means there's nothing in it. So you double click on it. Now we're in the materials folder, and we're going to create a material. We're going to create the color. We're going to create a material. We're going to go to create right over here, material, and we're going to call that red cube. Okay, we're going to call it red cube. There we go. So we're going to come over here. It's not yet red. We're going to double click. We're going to click on red. We're going to close this. Okay, this is our inspector. That's why it's over here. And then we're going to go ahead and drag this, not onto the platform, but onto the actual cube. So now you've got yourself a red cube. You also have yourself a trigger, which is right there. You guys can see it. And you got yourself a red cube. Now that red cube still says cube. It doesn't say red cube. Okay, I want to call that red cube. So I want to click on and right click on it and say rename. And I'm going to call that red cube. Okay, there we go. And probably, let me go back over here. You see how you called this red cube? I wouldn't call that red cube. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call that, I'm going to rename that to, let's see here. Hold on a second. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to right click on it and go to rename. And I'm going to call it red. Just red material. You could call it red material because it's a material. It's not really a cube. Okay? It's a red material. All right? Understand that. So now you've got yourself a red cube that's over here. You've got yourself a trigger, which is here. You've got your first-person controller, okay, which is right over here. And you've got your platform, which is over here. This is all we're going to do today because I need to expand on this, and I'm running a little bit late, so you're probably going to have extra time at the end of the period. Unfortunately, I did not bring in the actual games. I forgot from our competition, so I apologize for that. I want you guys to go ahead and, maybe review this and go into some other project or a video, tutorial video that's on YouTube that talks about triggers that would help you for the next lesson. All right, thank you very much. Take care.